I know it's really hard to say, was there a single thing you learned from the journey?
Oh, quite a few single things, but I definitely rose above administration, and I had a feeling that I wasn't really attached to any nationality. I've got 2 passports, but I don't really care for neither of them. But the thing that I learned was that landscape is my home, and it doesn't matter if it's Germany, Belgium, or France. I understand this landscape before I understand nationality, and I understand the smell of the river. We all understand the feeling of warmth on your skin. No, this is the fundamental human condition that really puts us under the common denominator. So I think that for me it was quite a nice, reassuring moment to say that administration means absolutely nothing to me. And of course, I'm speaking from a privileged position of a white male who can do that kind of stuff, so I understand. I'm not representing everybody in here, but that's my feeling, citizens of the planet. But we have bigger problems together, like we're spinning on this piece of rock through space, and we are digging in our own shit, who's whiter, who's darker, who's more British, who's British enough. It's sickening, sickening.
Has anybody got anything they want to ask Michał, or shall I just plough on?
Oh, there's plenty of you guys.
There are, yeah. I
want to join in.
You've got an exhibition that's currently in Carnarvon, and then hopefully moving to Warsaw. So it's in one home and moving hopefully to another one. What's the best reaction? What was the best reaction you've had from somebody going to the exhibition?
I think the one is an 85-year-old man who complained to gallery in Carnarvon saying that they shouldn't be showing my work because it's disrespectful to monarchy and Poland. I've managed to offend all Polish people and the Queen in one go.
We are European, whether we like it or not, and that gives us a responsibility to try and create the kind of politics we want for Europe, recognising that not everybody's going to agree with us. That's about being democratic, but saying that there absolutely needs to be a democratic debate about what kind of Europe we want to live in, and a set of European institutions which are democratised to allow for that debate to actually happen in a democratic way.
You think dismissing it as a neoliberal project is too glib?
Well, it's historically incorrect in the sense that, under the best of interpretations, neoliberalism might have started about the 80s, and the European Union, of course, started rather earlier than that, for a whole set of reasons, but some of the primary ones include ensuring peace and reconstruction in a devastated Europe. And so, at best, one could argue that it's become a neoliberal project, for example, since the Maastricht Treaty. But even then, one forgets that the Maastricht Treaty, in addition to doing things like creating the euro, also did things like create European citizenship and created a social chapter for the European Union for the first time. And so, the European Union has neoliberal elements, so does every political community in the West right at the moment. Some of us are opposed to those neoliberal elements, but to kind of essentialise that as the entirety of the European Union is historically illiterate and also a sort of lazy generalisation. So yes, I think it's incorrect.
Obviously, the kind of DNA of Europe is you build a set of institutions for peace and reconciliation, and you promulgate European federalism in the interest of solidarity, right? That was the whole point. But just because that was the whole point doesn't mean that's how it unfolded. But there is a case, I think, to kind of return to the DNA and talk about not just the Spinelli, the Alberto Spinelli case, which was solidarity across borders, worker rights, a social contract, but also the Ursula Hirschman case, which was a kind of feminist case, which is that, borders are inherently patriarchal. Only a nationalistic government can ever reject you or cast you out. Only a bordered identity can be taken away from you. only a transnational identity is actually yours by right. And that kind of feminist arc was built having been a Jewish refugee from Germany, having then had to be a refugee from Italy, having lost her first husband in the process of that second refugeedom, and knowing, that they did some really deep thinking about how you get away from the cruelties of nationalism, which we're seeing everywhere right now, from America to Hungary. How do you get away from the cruelties of nationalism? You don't just say, well, let's hope for really nice nationalistic governments or governments that see the good in people. You have to take back some citizens' rights across borders and support each other across borders. And actually, when you look at any kind of serious answer to both kind of far-right nationalism by states and corporatist exploitation by companies, the answers are always across borders. They are always unions cooperating with other unions. They're always German unions cooperating with Polish unions. They're always left-wing parties in Greece cooperating with left-wing parties in Spain. There's always a transnational cooperation agenda anytime you're going to beat any of the forces that might, start the schisms against which the EU was there as a rampart. So if you want to animate a kind of reformed EU as a thing we all really, really want, I think you have to go back to those. If there is a unity here that we need, what is it that we're fighting? Now, what are we fighting? We're fighting fascism. I didn't think it was true 3 years ago. I thought it was a joke, but it's not a joke. We're fighting climate change. Nobody has ever been as effective at that as the EU. And we're fighting a kind of neo-serfdom where people lose their workplace rights, wages are eroded, hyper-surveillance in the workplace. The kind of corrosion of benefit systems across borders is really just a response to corporate demands for a disempowered workforce. And if you kind of, you can kind of parse differences between those things. You can say, well, within the fight against fascism, we're fighting Russia first, Poland fourth. You can parse differences in climate change and say, well, the EU's been yay helpful, but the Paris Accord was more helpful. You can parse differences between different corporations if you want to, but the truth of it is, these are the kind of three predominant foes of the age, and there's no way you can fight them as a single nation state on your own. It's preposterous. So I think if you see the kind of EU not in terms of defending it as the set of institutions it has been, which is vexed and complicated and often really shitty, but as the set of institutions through which you could use your citizenly power in concord, then you begin to be able to make a case for Remain. Everything that we have fought for to date, everything that we want to fight for in the next 50 years, everything needs to be done transnationally. And I'm not actually writing off, I'm not going to slit my wrists if we don't get this. I'm not writing off transnational cooperation outside the EU. It's just you've got a set of institutions kind of ready, not necessarily doing it yet, but ready to load with this cooperation across borders, and we've got to use them, and we've got to show that we would know what to do with them, and we've got to basically flood the debate with hope that those are the way through the crises that are coming.